There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up and welcome into this Postgame Pod edition of the Program Guys Podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you as always by Patrick Hertzberger, Matt Gann, Mark Hall, no Ryan Tyson. Today, the Oklahoma Sooners just beat the BYU Cougars 31-24 in Utah. Oklahoma escaping with a narrow win. None of us had it that close. None of us had OU defense allowing that many points. None of us had OU scoring that few of points. There's the phrasing that I'm looking for. So we'll go with some quick thoughts before we dive deep into the game. Matt Gann, I'll start with you, man. What'd you think of the game?
Yeah, I mean, BYU's offense was one of the worst in the FBS, one of the worst rushing teams.
124th.
Yep, 124th, only averaging about 90 yards per game, us giving up over 200. We'll hit on that. So very surprised by the defensive performance. I feel like OU's defense just continues to get worse as we've been in the Big 12, but we escaped by the skin of our teeth, and I know we'll talk more about that, but listen, we're getting to that double-digit win total. That's what we talked about week by week. Hopefully that continues.
Mark?
Yeah, Brent Venables said it best after the game. I'm not used to just hanging on defense. And it really felt like we were just hanging on defense. It felt like everything that happened with the turf, with the field itself, affected the Oklahoma Sooners players more and deeper into the game than it was affecting the BYU Cougars. Credit to the Cougars, man. The coaching staff had them ready, and their equipment people just had their cleats either better or had the guys more prepared in any event. But it took some big plays on both sides of the ball to make up for an otherwise kind of lackluster performance on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Just to keep us winning the game. And we were 3 touchdown favorites almost. So no, over 3 touchdown, nearly 4 touchdown favorites. So Patrick, what about you?
Yeah, man, my post-game thoughts are that this post-game podcast is sponsored by our friends at the Fan Stop. If you need a new game day polo, if you're a BYU fan, if you're a BYU fan or an Oklahoma fan, you need a new game day polo, use our promo code PGUYZ, go to thefanstop.com, get yourself a new game day polo, or join their Shirt of the Month Club, where they send you a collegiate t-shirt, long sleeve, or hoodie to your doorstep every single month. And if you want 15% off your first 3 months, use our promo code PGUYZ. The link to thefanstop.com is in the description and in the comments of this video. Really cool swag, officially licensed collegiate stuff. So if you're an Oklahoma fan or a BYU fan with us right now, go check that out. Yep, that's what I got. Those are my post-game thoughts. So let's keep going, baby.
Perfect.
Wild.
The Dylan Gabriel injury mattered a lot for the offense. I think Jackson Arnold performed admirably, but you could tell that he was a freshman who hasn't seen the field in multiple weeks. So that's a problem, but especially if Dylan's not going to play next week. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Defense was lackluster. I am really, really disgusted with the run defense. I'm really, really disappointed in the linebacking play. Specifically, truly, Danny had a very good game at the end of the game. At the very beginning of the game, he did not know where he was going. And that's an issue. And that to me is a coaching thing and a scheme thing that BYU schemed up in response to how OU game plans. And they were like, we're going to double pull these guards, do whatever we need to do to get these linebackers out of position. And they did it time and time again, and it really, really worked. So segueing that into the Oklahoma defense against BYU's offense, we'll dive right in. What'd you guys think of that?
There definitely seems to be some type of rhythm thing, and they're just not in rhythm. I don't know if that's because we're switching guys up a lot, because people are hurt, but this defense does not look like the same defense that we've seen this year. And there was a definite regression today. Agree that, Danny played well towards the end of the game, but man, just some unorganization overall, that was disappointing to see.
Well, and it wasn't like tricky run plays, right? Like they're running up the middle in between the tackles, pulling guards, and you got to go stop somebody. And they just weren't. And not only that, Oklahoma's boxes, like on the defensive side of the ball, looked empty. I feel as though they didn't have anybody to stop the run. And they were like daring them to run the ball, and they'd run it for 10 yards a carry. There wasn't an adjustment, it felt like. Mark, jump in there.
Every single play, at least for the first, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, was everyone flowing to the ball and the running back just having a wide open hole cut up the middle. And Danny is on the strong side and Kip Lewis is on his backside, and no one is actually closing on the ball until Billy Bowman, who, guess what, my MVP, just going to shout it right now from the rooftop. The only guy on the defense consistently making plays today, I'd say. He was ready, and he had to be, because our linebackers were just in hell. Every single play early on, they're overrunning. Whatever their keys were, BYU knew them and played to those tendencies in a way that we haven't seen our linebackers get put in a position like that all year long. All year long. Danny hasn't played like that all year long. And it's not a health thing, I don't think, anymore. I think that he was ready to go for this game. They just had us beat in that way. They schemed us up, and we saw once again, we still don't have individual playmakers up front on the run defense or the pass defense to consistently just stop a team that knows what we're doing. We're only going to be playing better coaching if we play in the Big 12 championship game, a bowl game, next season in the SEC. And they're going to have this tape just like anyone else does. It's on Brent and Ted Roof and the homies on the defensive side of the ball to take what you saw this game, learn from it, and teach your guys how to, adjust, because whatever they did today was not right. They just were beat.
Matt.
I'm going to go the positive side of the defense today. Probably the biggest turning point why OU won was 3 turnovers that turned into 21 points.
Yep.
Without those turnovers, OU loses this game. Obviously, the Billy Bowman pick was probably the biggest play of the game from a monumental shift standpoint. I mean, that's a 14-point swing that BYU could go up 7. That could be the ball game based on how Jackson Arnold is playing. So the Billy Bowman pick, probably the best play of the game, but 2 other fumbles that they caused that led to OU points. That was the difference making in this game. It was more of bend, don't break again, giving up a lot of yards, but not really a whole lot of points. The front 7 was very soft today. They were getting bullied on the defensive line. Not a lot of people getting off tackles, and the linebacking core, I think, is very confused. I mean, JK7's not playing a lot, so it's up to Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie to fill those gaps, and they just haven't figured it out. It seemed like we had it figured out in the beginning of the year with Danny and JK7. That is not the case anymore. BV is going to have to find a group of guys that can consistently play and make plays on that side of the ball. But give credit where credit is due. 3 turnovers, massive for the OU defense. That's what we needed to see.
And you can have like bad games, right? Bad games are allowed. But when you go out there and you're obviously out-schemed and outplayed by a far, far, far inferior offense to your defense, that's some red flags there, right? Like that's not a normal thing, especially for Brent Venables. We can call a spade a spade. I love Brent Venables just as much as the next person. I have no problem saying that this is an indictment on him today as to what this defense looked like. He should take it personally. Ted Roof should take it personally. They should, the entire defense as a whole should take it personally. And that's okay. You can call people out for being bad. When we get to the flip side, I think Jeff Lebby deserved a lot of credit for the way the offense performed. I thought that last drive was really good play calling. So you can have bad weeks as long as your great weeks outweigh the bad ones. So, and I think OU's great ones outweigh the bad ones. I think this is a shocking performance by the defense, but I don't think it's the norm, and we shouldn't expect it to be, and it won't be.
It's like, in a season full of W's for the defense, this one was an L.
Yeah.
And that'll happen. That'll happen. We had just enough come out of the defense and on the other side of the football to overcome. to overcome. Hey, shout out to the BYU running backs. Those guys were fun to watch, and that quarterback has moxie. That
dude,
that
chutzpah.
dude,
He's Jewish. Chutzpah.
he's got some chutzpah.
He was good, man. And that 37-year-old tight end they got, he's a stud too. You know what I mean?
Isaac Rex, the freshman for 3 years. That was crazy to find out. Like, you look at his face and it's like, all right, he did his mission before college. You can tell.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, he looks so old. He's played for so long already.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and Cody Epps, their wide receiver, had a great game too. 6 receptions, 90 yards, 15 yards a catch. And Billy Bowman knew that. Billy Bowman knew that they were going to try to target Epps in the touchdown, and he was there for it, baby. I love it.
Well, and every pressure, Matt brought up the turnovers, and I want to give credit where it's due. Every time they got pressure on the BYU quarterback, I felt as though OU just had a free rusher. And that's credit to the scheme, right? You schemed up a blitz when you knew they weren't going to have you covered. Danny was untouched at the end of the game, getting back there to the quarterback. And I knew from the snap, I was like, that dude's dead. Like, Danny's got him dead to rights. And credit to Danny. Like, I didn't even know he made him fumble until there were dudes on the ground, like, fighting for the ball. So credit to the scheme in that way. When it mattered most, you showed up when you had to. Billy Bowman, as you said, Matt, and Patrick knew what he was doing on that pick. And then the other turnover, just a BYU lapse in judgment, but you're Johnny on the spot, ready to go pick up the ball. Anybody else?
I'll just say the defense, I feel like, has gotten progressively worse. The run defense specifically, since we've gotten to Big 12 play. If you think about giving up 200 yards to UCF, who credit, they're a top 10 offense in the country, but also giving up 200 plus to Kansas, obviously shutting down the run game at Oklahoma State. But again, giving up 200 yards to a team that averages 90 yards coming in, one of the worst teams in the FBS, that just blows my mind.
And they gave up 190 to West Virginia last week, didn't they?
Yeah.
Even though it was a blowout win, they gave up a lot.
Yeah, I think multiple L's since we've done Big 12 play, and we can't do that in SEC football. They're going to run it down our throats if we can't figure out a way to stop the run first.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. They got to get bigger up front. And I don't think that's a shock to anybody who's watching this or have paid attention to OU football. They got to get bigger on the interior, and that's what Brent Venables' defensive success hinges on. At Clemson and Oklahoma, his interior defensive linemen were massive, and that's something that they know that they have to improve, and they'll get there. I have full faith that they're going to do that. You got Jaden Jackson waiting in the wings. You got other guys coming in as well that are going to fill that void for you. Anybody else on the defense before we move on?
Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman, once again, are just sort of your best players. And the design on that delayed Danny Stutzman blitz coming around the side was just really beautiful stuff. So 2 good plays and an ocean of bad.
Also, I know that you're limited in the secondary, but my God, man, I've seen enough of Key Lawrence to know that I don't want to see him anymore. Yeah. I just can't do it, man. I just can't. It's a lot of missed tackles. It's a lot of diving at people's feet. It's brutal. I can't do it. I just can't.
And Peyton Bowen has been more or less removed from that rotation. You see him on special teams, so we know he's healthy enough to be active, but he's just not in the rotation anymore. And I wonder why, because all he did was make plays early in the season.
Yeah. Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of the defensive performance. We read every single one of your comments. And shout out to our boy Okie Trades. Said it left us a good comment on the last episode, saying we need to interact more, not just read your comments, but interact with you guys. And we do love doing that. We'll try to be more involved and interactive in the comments with you guys. I feel like we've done an okay job, but we can always be better, just like Oklahoma.
Hey, right? He's holding us to the standard.
Yeah, right. That's 100%. We appreciate
he's holding
you.
us to the standard.
Yeah, we appreciate
Matt
you.
Gann's like, there's a comment section.
I read it every week.
No, you don't. You're a liar. Okay, going to the opposite side of the ball, we got to start with the main story of the day, and that's Dillon Gabriel exiting the game with what they called a head injury. You can decipher that from what you want, but the play in question was towards the The last drive of the first half, he's kind of slung down to the ground and goes back, whips his head into the ground. That to me reads as a concussion. He didn't come out and even warm up for the second half. Jackson Arnold plays the entirety of the second half. Oklahoma scores 14 points in the second half, only 7 points from the offense, a touchdown run from Gavin Sawchuk. But all in all, I thought Jackson played okay. I thought he did well. And also, I'll need to say it, Dylan, 200 yards in the first half, was rolling. Like, I thought Dylan was playing very, very well. This was arguably one of his best games until the injury. But what I liked at the end of the game, you're driving. Levy called a lot of runs for Jackson Arnold on that last drive. And I know that we probably have some controversy on that, but you take a deep shot on 1st and 10 to try to kill shot. The ball, the guy's open. Nick Anderson's got the dude beat by 5 yards. Jackson's just got to put it on him. I think that's a great play call. You followed up with a Gavin Sawchuk, 15-yard run. Great play call. Had it dialed up. Jackson Arnold, 5-yard run. You're moving the ball effectively and you're killing clock. I thought that was a Jeff Levy masterpiece on that last drive right there. I thought he called a very, very good game right there. The first half, the weird Drake Stoops run, while you're running effectively on a jet sweep with bad footing, that's weird. But that's what we've become accustomed to. I've talked a lot. Somebody else go.
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is you need to go to thefanstop.com and use our promo code PGUYZ for 15% off their game day polos or 15% off their shirt of the month club. The link is in the description of this video. Please go check out this website while you're listening. The second thing I'll say, it was kind of interesting because when Jackson Arnold came into the game, Jeff Levy was having to stick with what worked rather than when he has his whole offensive weapons, he's drawing up all these things in his mind. He's like, how can I get tricky? I got all my guys in there. In the second half, he's like, Gavin Sawchuk's running the ball really well. I just need to keep running Gavin Sawchuk and do what works. And then the offense all finds a rhythm because of that. Whereas in the first half, again, we talk about this a lot. We didn't see a lot of identity. Interesting stuff. Really happy that Gavin shined today. I thought Jackson did a good job when he came in. I was expecting a little more, but that's just because I'm so high up on Jackson Arnold, and that's not fair to him. He did a very good job using his feet. I think he would have had over 40 rushing yards had Stogner not had that flag, but I think he ends around 25 rushing yards. So a threat on his feet, even though we don't like all those designed run plays for him, threw the ball very accurately, except for that long throw to Nick Anderson. Pleased overall with his poise. Very excited to see him. And I hope Dylan's okay, but I also have a lot of faith in Jackson Arnold taking the field as a starter against TCU next week.
Matt, Mark?
Yeah, first half with DG, he's on pace for 400 and over 4 touchdowns. The offense was rolling, run game was used effectively, but that's the dangerous consequence of RPOs. Your quarterback is going to most likely take hits, and that's the unfortunate of what we saw in the first half. Getting whipped. Obviously there was no malintention. That's just how the tackle was made. But DG was looking really sharp. He made some unbelievable throws, getting outside the pocket, finding Jaden Gibson on that 30-yard touchdown. That was a work of art and a great play scheme, having the Drake Stoops run across the middle, bringing the safety down, and having Jaden going over the top and find that end zone. So DG was rolling. It was obviously unfortunate. We hope the best for him and whatever he's dealing with, and hopefully he can play next week. But what we saw out of Jackson Arnold, I think, was probably going to be it. Very conservative play calling, wanting to run the football, especially with the clock on our side and being up a score after the late turnover. So I hope they open up the playbook more if Jackson Arnold is going to be the guy. I did love the play call to Nick Anderson, had him wide open. I think that was a good situational call by Jeff Levy. But keep Gavin Sawchuk in the game at all times. He is he's the clear number one back. Yeah, again, if he's tired, bring in Ty Weed. That's totally fine. But if Gavin can play, leave him in the football game. Do we like Jackson Arnold running a quarterback when we only have Davis or Bevel behind him?
Dude, he took so many shots.
Not.
He took so many shots.
But that's what Jeff Levy wants to do, because he's a 5-star best dual threat quarterback coming out of his class. So definitely saw enough of Jackson Arnold. again, expectations are very high, but if he's starting the quarterback next week against TCU, hopefully open up the playbook a little bit more. But he made 2 crucial third down conversions. Obviously, one of them led to a widely missed field goal, but both on a slant to Jalil Farouk looked really good. I liked seeing that. I just hope to see a little bit more, not, maybe less on the quarterback power and letting him take some hits when you don't have anyone behind him. So liked what I saw. Hopefully we'll see more.
Mark, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it's the tale of two halves. Contrary to something that Patrick said earlier, I think that there was a bit of an identity in the first half, and it was, let's get to third down and hope that Drake can save us. And thankfully, Drake did save us.
He did, right?
That was pretty good.
He did, right?
That was pretty good. And we had a great play with Nick Anderson, just owning for a touchdown, getting that toe tap. That was beautiful. Jaden Gibson getting his own touchdown as well. Those guys are the future at the wide receiver position for us, and they were so much fun to watch when they were given opportunities today. Then you get to the second half, and Jackson comes in, and that's a little bit confusing, but you know that you can lean on you know what? Never mind. I'm remembering this wrong. We got away from Gavin in the second half.
Yeah, we did.
It was so stupid, and I don't know why we did that, because that was more in the first half mix. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was in the first half, and it was looking really good, and I don't know why. For some reason, we're just going back and forth with our guys. Hey, Gavin is the hot hand, and this is a game that you really need to win. Ride the hot hand. Don't keep trying to mix and match these guys. Don't put Tawi in there because that's who Jackson's comfortable with. Maybe that's what they're thinking there, and I don't like it. It's not good enough. And you can't run him in these situations. I'm sure that he and Lebby have had a conversation where he's told him, hey, I feel better when I'm running the ball. Like, I get more comfortable. I'm in the game more when I'm running the football. That's cool, man. Let him do that while he's dropping back when there's 4.5 minutes left. Don't start doing it when there's 4.5 minutes left. You just can't put him in risk of anything else happening. Not when we don't know the severity of Dylan's injury when TCU comes to town in 6 days. We don't even get a full week of rest. So I think you got to see a game plan next week that opens up the field for him, because he is that kind of dude. 3rd and 13 to Jalil Farouk going across the field. He just makes a monumental throw, something we haven't seen Dylan do in that exact situation kind of thing all year long. It was just a big boy NFL level throw. Yeah. And that was really encouraging to see. If we do have to stick with him, like Matt said, cater the offense, build it out for him. I want to see what Jackson can do against a not great TCU defense.
Hey, whoa.
Two really big third down throws from Jackson that ended up being first downs. And they're 3rd and long, and it's an obvious pass situation. He steps up and makes throws. Those are big time throws from him. And also, I think it's so funny, the opposite ends of the spectrum. The Dylan Gabriel to Jaden Gibson long ball, it felt like a freaking punt. It felt like that ball was in the air for so long, and somehow it just lands right in the breadbasket for Jaden. It's a good throw. But then you see the throw to Nick Anderson that Jackson made, and it's just a freaking rope, but it's like 5 yards too long. It's just funny. And I'm not saying Dylan has a noodle arm by any stretch, but it's just funny. Like, that's the kind of arm talent that Jackson has, where those throws don't feel out of the realm of possibility. Patrick, I interrupted you.
No, all good. Man, his arm is awesome. I loved watching it. The only thing I'll say on the designed run plays late into the game too, Jackson could easily fumble one of those. And then the game is his fault if we lose. Don't put him in that situation. He's not your running back. Give it to one of your running backs to run the ball at the end of the game. I don't know. It's beyond me. I'm sure. I mean, Levy's going to go in tomorrow and say, Jackson, I put the game on your back and put all the responsibility on you, and you did it. And Jackson's going to feel very great about that. Yeah. And I like that too. But man, you just didn't have to do that.
Well, all those 28-year-olds at BYU are savvy. They were gumming him up. right? They're kind of holding him up to try to get the ball out. They weren't trying to bring him to the ground very quickly.
Right.
And you're 100% right. That's an issue. And you obviously don't want that to happen at all, because then you're right. Jackson Arnold, instead of the Jackson Arnold leads OU to victory in the second half, it's, OU has a problem because their freshman quarterback can't hold on to the ball. And it's just like, okay, that's something that can get in a kid's head early in his career for sure.
Yep. Question for you guys, and then also if you want to comment and answer yourself, did Gavin Sawchuk have a really great day, or did BYU kind of suck at tackling at times?
I think both can be true. I thought his touchdown run was a Gavin Sawchuk just being a better football player. That was really good. And he didn't have 107 yards until the end of the game. I thought he was well over 100, like in the third quarter. It was shocking to me that he didn't have as many yards as he did. But yeah, that's my answer to your question.
Gavin Sawchuk had a good game because the same thing was happening on the other side too. I think defenders were just not able to keep their feet against running backs the same way and break down the way that they normally could, because we were missing tackles left and right the same way. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Matt,
you guys said
that
goes for both.
That field's an issue. Both teams played on it, so we're not here to say that it's like the fix is in or whatever, but that field's a problem. And the fact that they're replacing it next year is just wild. That's weird. But yeah, man, it's so funny. They started the game just so in depth about how the field was going to be an issue. And I was like, okay, yeah, sometimes you hear that all the time or whatever. And then you see guys literally just falling down while they're in motion. And you're like, holy crap, man. Like, what is going on? That's a rough field. For sure.
The pregame showed a clip of Billy Bowman, or it was either Billy or Woody. I'm sorry.
No, I think it was Billy.
I thought it was Billy. Like backtracking, and he just falls as he tries to plant. And he gets up and he starts like giggling at the situation with another teammate. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's that kind of grass. We're playing on Heinz Field out here.
Dude. Soldier Field. Just freaking terrible. Freaking terrible. So bad. Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of the offensive performance against BYU. And we like to interact with your comments, guys. Follow along with us as well. Also, shout out to FanStop. This Program Guys t-shirt brought to you by the FanStop. Shout out to them. We appreciate them sponsoring this episode as well. Boys, I feel like we have to talk about the special teams because, my God, I'm ready to fire Zach Schmidt into the sun. And you can't cut college football players, right? I'm not asking you to do that. But maybe you tell Zach, we're going to bring in 3 kickers next year. So if you want to stay and compete, you're more than welcome to do so. But man, you can't be missing 26-yard field goals. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. You cannot, as a Division I Power 5 kicker, you can't do that. And Matt, you made the point that he's on the right hash and he missed it left. How do you do that?
Far left. I mean, I don't know how you do it.
Used to play a little footy himself. So
not only that, his kickoff that went out of bounds.
I know.
That was egregious. You cannot ever let that happen. No one said wind was a problem, dog. No one talked about the wind being a problem. It's just the rain.
It didn't even make it to like the 10-yard line. I mean, what are we doing?
What was that?
It's bad.
I don't understand this.
It's bad. Also, the fake punt getting called back. That was a huge momentum swing. Ethan Downs making a catch. They called pass interference on the offense. I'm of the opinion the defender tries to lock up the gunner at the beginning of the play and has no interest in letting him go. So yeah, we're in the way as a receiver, but you don't initiate that contact. I feel as though that's not really a case for offensive pass interference. And you also have to know it's a trick play. Like you have to read the situation, right? Like he's not seeking out the contact. He's trying to run down the field.
The play. He's clearly out of the play. And to your point, if you assume that Ethan Downs is a quarterback the moment he gets the ball and looks to pass the ball, then it should be defensive pass interference, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to throw a flag at all, if you're not going to let that play run because it's out of the play, then you have to call it the other way because he grabs him quick and he holds on. Mason, you saying that just like it really clicked for me earlier.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, at the end of the day, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like it happened and the tinfoil hat started coming out for me like early on. I was like, they really don't want us to win this game. They're not interested in letting us win this game. But hey, OU walks away with the win. And whether you feel comfortable with it or not, folks, the Oklahoma Sooners are 9-2, and a Texas loss and another Oklahoma win away from playing in the Big 12 title game. We're recording this. It is now 3:15 Central Time. As it stands right now, Texas kicks off in about 3.5 hours. So we won't have the results of that game right now. But boys, how are we feeling after this game before the Texas game? Just kind of want to get where our headspace is at.
I still don't think it's in our hands, and I hate that. So,
I
also, with the Texas running back being hurt this year, I think they've got a tough night ahead, and we will be covering it tomorrow on the program roundup, which will most likely drop on Monday morning. So if you wanted to talk, we talk about all of college football games around the country. So look out for that Monday.
Yeah, check it out. Matt, how you feeling? Headspace.
Lackluster performance, but we have a chance to get to double-digit wins. I talked about that last week. One win at a time. Let's take care of business and get to 10-2 and see where things fall for us.
Mark?
Yeah, I think you had to win the game and you won the game, right? That's why you go out there and line up and lace up your cleats. Sure, we didn't cover. Let me suffer that loss. The Oklahoma Sooners are in there. And while there's a lot to learn from, there's a lot to learn. Like there's a lot to improve upon. You can do that. And it's a short week. You've got to do it quickly, but it's a short week for TCU too, and they've got to make the trip to Norman. So it's the same for everyone, the same way the field was today. We found a way to do it today. You've got to take that mentality and that mindset into this final game. And looking forward to Texas tonight. Hey, man, I said it the other day. The Cyclones are 4 of the last 5 when Texas has come to town. There's something about the water in Ames that makes them bring down potential playoff teams in big moments. And go Cyclones. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones. Go
That's
Cyclones.
all I got. Hey, I don't think Quinn Ewers is an NFL quarterback yet. And an NFL quarterback wins this game. Let's see what happens.
I agree as well. I think it's going to be a tough game for Texas. I really do. I'm not saying they go in there and lose, but I think some heart rates are going to be elevated. That's what I think for sure. But at the end of the day, Oklahoma was 6-7 last year, right? And what did we say the entire offseason and building up to this season? It was about improvement. Show us you're building something. Show us what you're building towards. And as Matt said, you have a chance to get to 10 wins. And yeah, we all want to play for the Big 12 title game. That's of course, like, don't be an idiot. But you have a chance to get 10 wins, be 10-2 in the regular season, maybe get 11 wins in your bowl game. That's massive. That is huge for this program. And I can't wait for us to cover it all, especially next week. But boys, before we get out of here, we got to do our MVPs. I didn't forget this week, Mark. I didn't forget. We're going to do our MVPs of the game. Matt, I want to start with you. Who's your MVP? Can't be Billy Bowman because Mark already said it.
No, I'm actually going to do the first ever LVP. The guy that we already talked about, Zach Schmidt. You just can't miss field goals, and you can't have those egregious penalties. You got to get to the end zone every single time. I truly don't understand. I think he's now 12 of 18 or 11 of 18. I'm not exactly sure. It's not great. This is the first time OU's just not had a kicker in a long time who can make those field goals. Grab a student. I don't care who it is. Get someone in there that can compete with this guy and kick field goals for the Oklahoma Sooners. LVP, Zach Smith.
What about you, Pat?
Yeah, I've got 2 MVPs, and none of them are on the OU football team because I just don't think anyone really stood out besides Billy Bowman, and Mark will cover that. So the first MVP I have is thefanstop.com for sponsoring this episode. Go to thefanstop.com right now. Get yourself a new game day polo or join their Shirt of the Month club and get really cool swag every single month. The second is Mark Hall. It is Mark Hall's birthday today. Drop him a happy birthday in the comments. And he tweeted from our X profile, Twitter profile, all game. He did a really, really good job. Go follow us on Twitter.
Pat.
Happy birthday, Mark.
Happy birthday, Mark.
Man. Thanks, guys.
Happy birthday, Mark. Give us your Billy Bowman speech.
Yeah, just like I said earlier, he's the most consistent guy on the defense today. Most weeks that's Danny, but like I said earlier, Danny was in hell all day long until maybe the fourth quarter. Great game out of Billy the whole way, and it is only fitting that when we absolutely needed a stop on the goal line, he was the guy who stepped up, because he was the guy who stepped up every single time the ball carrier got through, every single time a catch was made and someone in pursuit needed to make a play. Billy Bowman, my MVP, Jada Coleman's MVP, the MVP.
That's
Mason,
right.
Who you got?
My MVP is the wide receiver core as a whole. I thought Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson, Drake Stoops, Jaleel Farouk all had really good games today. And they showed up when they needed to. Third down catches galore, touchdowns when you needed them, impressive touchdowns, impressive catches in traffic, people hanging on them. Two different quarterbacks, bad conditions, bad field, didn't matter. They showed up, and that's what we needed, right? They got a lot of crap. When Andrew Anthony went down, we're wondering who's going to step up. Well, the bulk of them have all stepped their game up, I feel as though this week. I thought they all kind of raised their play, and they're a big part of why OU is sitting at 9-2 right now instead of 8-3. So credit to them. I thought the wide receiver core as a whole, and Emmett Jones's squad, my MVPs of the game. Let us know down below in the comments who your MVP of the game is. We'd love to read that, interact with you as well. Boys, anything else before we get out of here?
Boomer,
I love it. Okay, happy birthday, Mark Hall. We love you, brother. Happy birthday. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Trying to hit 2,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter, all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff. Find our podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Oklahoma Sooners 9-2 on to TCU. Like Mark said, in just 6 days. We'll see you then. Patrick, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1.
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being